KFAN.
Oh my gosh, above average at that.
Sounds of hockey. Wild.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
In left circle, cross ice, Kaprizov a shot, and that one-timer. Here's Boldy with Johansson. Boldy a shot. He scores from the right circle. Matt Boldy muscled it through Talbot. 18 seconds into period 2. The Wild have tied this game at 1. Hartman rescues it, spins right side, lifts one. He scores! Traffic in front. Ryan Hartman along wrister. Kaprizov got a chunk of it, and the Wild, just like that, have a 2-1 lead here in Hockeytown.
Boy, Hartman, once again, what a year he is having right now. He's on a hot streak, as we've talking about him time and time again.
Cross ice, a shot. They score! Tarasenko against his former team, and it's 3-1 in favor of the Wild.
Boy, Minnesota's come out to play in this third period.
And he scores to a loose puck from right off the bench. Kaprizov high, short side, his second of the period, and it's all Minnesota right now. The Wild have a 4-1 lead.
What's going on there? Welcome to the capital city of St. Paul and Tria Rink. This is VOX in the Box, and this is 9 to noon. The Minnesota Wild take on the Seattle Kraken this evening, 7 o'clock on KFAN. 5 games to go in the regular season, and the head coach for the Minnesota Wild joins us now. He is John Hynes. The boys really seem to be hitting a positive stride at the right time of the year. What are you liking?
Yeah, I think the 4-day break was good for us. We were able to get some practice time in and rest and reset a little bit. And I think we're playing with the identity that makes us a difficult team to play against. And as we talked about last week, I think it's the combination of getting individual players getting to the top of their game, which in turn helps the team get to the game that we want to play. So I think both of those are coming together nicely. Do
you find at this time of the season, and it would be a tricky balance with 5 to go, 2 behind the stars, everything that we talk about and you hear all the time, to find even just a day, like a day or two of rest can be so important for players at this stage of the season, but how difficult is that to find?
Yeah, it is difficult. It's you want to find days, or whether it's practices or an optional practice, whatever it is, you have to have a good feel and communicate with the players and the strength and conditioning staff as well. But I think we try to do a good job of giving the guys the opportunities to get what they need, and I think particularly this time of year that is important.
Kirill Kaprizov, that third goal at Detroit. What makes that so difficult to get home? He blasted it, and it goes over the right shoulder of the goaltender, bar down, I believe. But I watched it back like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, holy cow, that's an unbelievably tough goal to get.
Yeah, it really is, and that's when Kirill's on his game, that's one of the areas that makes him such a unique player is his shot, his release, his ability to one time the puck, and do it at such a high rate. It's a goal scorer's goal.
In the Red Wings game, right before that goal, man, there was a sequence that as a coach you just absolutely have to love, where the Red Wings could not get the puck out of the zone, and they kept trying. And it was like 4 or 5 times they couldn't get it out. Then finally 97 scores. But what goes into that? Obviously tenacity and effort and recognizing the implications of the moment. And, we want to keep it in the zone, but they want to get it out. And they were tired, yet they couldn't get it out.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of that power play goal was the puck recoveries and the puck battles to be able to keep the play alive. And that's something I think the last 3 games we've done a good job of too. 5-on-5 is, I think, our puck pressure game and the relentlessness on their D and rehunting pucks and being above and skating and taking away time and space and winning those puck battles is a big part of, we call it trying to half ice the team, but on that situation on the power play, that was no different than what we want to do 5-on-5.
Last time we chatted here for Vox in the Box, Vancouver was in town. It was Hughesy's first game against his former team, and you won the game. And it seemed to be a very celebratory evening. The crowd seemed to be super happy. But into the game after we chatted, what was Quinn like, and what was he like after it?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was focused. I think in talking to him, it was it's always different when you play your old team for the first time. And, I think what he said, sometimes I think the fact that we're over here and you don't see the team in the morning and, you basically just kind of have your normal game day routine, I think, which helps you get to the game and play. And, I think he was obviously happy that we won the game, and I think he saw some people after, and I think he was in a good spot. Is
this a unique setup as the NHL goes, what you guys have here with Tree Rink, compared to the other teams skating at Grand Casino Arena?
Yeah, I think it's split. I think there's a lot of teams that do morning skate or do all their morning prep stuff at their practice rink. A lot of times the facilities are, maybe a little bit better. You have more ice time. You don't have the other team around. For us, it's such a great facility that, I think the players would prefer to do what we do here. But it does vary throughout the NHL.
What are some, you touched on one, but what are some things you like about it, where maybe they're not at the arena all the time, or what do you like being at Tree Rink?
Well, I think the facility is larger, and I think it's more equipped for what the guys need. Like, you have your recovery. We have a huge recovery area here that the guys use all the time in the morning. The gym is a lot bigger. There's we have food for them here, a breakfast and a pregame meal. Our chefs are here, so it's cooked right in there. It's just, I think there's more, even the ice time for us, you can have the ice as long as you want.
Right.
And particularly right now, we have a lot of extra guys. So the fact that we don't have to get off the ice early at a specific time, they can get more, work in. So I think all those reasons, for us is why it's more beneficial to be here.
Chatting with coaches, in all pro sports, as much as I have over the years, I know first and foremost it's about your guys, and of course you're going to break down film and find advantages and things like that. But first and foremost, it's about you guys and how you play and executing what you do. But what's interesting is Seattle last night in losing to Winnipeg used 2 goalies. so now I know they roster 3. I think they have Matt Murray, maybe his name. He's played 5 times. But how much do you think about that into a game tonight, where they used Decord and Grubauer? Yeah,
I think Grubauer got hurt, right? And then, I think that's why he went in. But I don't know what the extent of the injury is.
Okay.
So, we always would prepare for both goalies, and then some coaches say that they determine who's going to play or who's not going to play. In this situation, it's a little bit different, so we'll be prepared for both.
With Ryan Hartman and really the last 3 weeks to a month, and that outstanding game at Ottawa, does he traditionally get hot this time of the year? Do things traditionally pick up for him this time of the year? I mean, he has 8 points in his last 4 games.
Yeah, Hartsey. I think at least in my experiences with him last year was that he performed well down the stretch. He performed well in the playoffs, and I think right now he's playing at the top of his game. He's moving his feet, he's creating great puck decisions, using his shot. He's getting to the net front. I think he's been pretty good in the face-off circle, been extremely disciplined. So when he plays that game, you can see how effective a player he is.
And when you get the productivity from Hartman and Tarasenko, outside, well, the you know better than anybody, man. But the stars have to shine this time of the year. The stars have to shine in the postseason, and we can anoint the stars however we want. But I mean, if we laid it out nationally, I think they'd say 97, they'd say Boldy, they'd say Faber, they'd say Hughes, and so on. But then the ancillary players who are supremely gifted, like Hartman and Tarasenko, Johansson to a certain extent, and so on. I mean, when those guys elevate like they are now, you're in business.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think you have to have the so-called stars of the team have to be at the top of their game, but it is a team game, and everyone brings different attributes. And I like the fact that obviously Vladdy and Hartsey have been able to produce as of late, and they look like they're at the top of their game. I think Johansson is playing well. He complements Eck and Boldy very well. But then you also look at other guys. You look at the Trennans, the Foligno, McCarron, Brink. These guys, Sturmy. Like, we have a lot of guys that I think really contribute to the team and how they play, and they're also playing at the top of their game in ways that make them tough players to play against.
Well, with Johansson and Boldy on the second line, how do they make each other better?
Well, I think the three of them work really well together. I think Eki is a strong two-way centerman, obviously, and then you have Bolds is a real. All three of them are very strong two-way players. They all bring a little bit different. Johansson's speed, he's very, very, very smart. He can make plays with those guys from a defensive standpoint. He's very responsible, attention to detail is strong, and the three of them together, that's what makes them such a good line. Is they all can play very well and at the same level on both sides of the puck, offensively and defensively.
John Hynes, weekly 9 to noon. Very gracious for that. It's 9:10. Good morning. The Kraken in town tonight, 7 o'clock on KFAN. With your decor, and it hasn't been like this of late, but for instance, when Spurgeon plays with Hughes, what do you like?
Well, the two of them are such good players. Spurgey is, he can do everything. He moves the puck. He's a good skater. He's very good defensively. I think he reads, at times when Hughesy's going or kind of doing his thing, that Spurgey, I think, can read off of him well to be in the right position. And I think he also helps whoever he plays with, Jared, is that I think he communicates well and he knows the game so well that I think he complements anyone that he plays with. But when those two are together, that's what we like the best.
Well, what about when you get Faber and Brodin together? What do you like about that?
I think very similar. They both can skate very well, both very good defensively. Both guys can move the puck. Same thing, I think Broads, when Faves is up and going and doing his thing, that I think Broads is a stabilizer on that pair as well.
How much do you truly believe home ice matters in the postseason?
It probably matters if you have it. It doesn't matter if you don't, right? I think to me,
the owner would say it matters a lot, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's all, there's all different things. To me, I just focus on, we know that's there for us, but I think it's also something that you don't have control over. What we do have control over is getting ready for Seattle and continuing to build our game individually and collectively as we've done, over the past week, and let the chips fall where they may. But most important for me as the coach is that focus.
So with your players and with 5 to go, to make sure they don't stress too much or really even stress at all about trying to run down Dallas and scoreboard watching and things like that, is the preach, if you just keep doing what you're doing, we're going to finish where we're supposed to finish, but most importantly, we're going to finish hot.
Correct. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
It's not a controllable thing, and you got to be where your feet are. It's something that is out of your control. What is in our control is our readiness, our preparation, our style of game, being consistent in that. And then the chips will fall where they may. As you said, you're going to finish where you're supposed to finish, and you want to make sure wherever we finish that we're continuing to play the way that we're playing. 2 to go, and thanks for the time. With tonight, with your guys and the Kraken on a back-to-back out of the postseason, what are some keys for your guys tonight? Like, what are you going to tell them before the game? Here's what we need to do, and here's how we're going to win the game. We want to start the right way. I think the last few games we've done that. I think dictating the game, playing fast, playing with an attitude, high level of execution, trying to put them on their heels. I think that when we're at our best in starting games, that's how we get off to a good start.
And lastly, with your goaltenders, as you approach the end of the season, I mean, looking at it from afar, it could be an oxymoron, a good problem, but nevertheless, is it any form of tedium to you determining how to roll these goalies up to the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, Freddie and I talked a lot yesterday just about what the potential plan would be here over the next 5 games, and it's a good problem to have because I think we feel very confident in both goaltenders. But we'll put a plan in place and try to follow it, and like we do, we don't take any of those decisions lightly.
Right.
We do think through them all, and then you go after it.
Yeah, and I think Wally's given up 2 or fewer like his last 5. Gus with the size and the experience got his 100th win last Thursday against Vancouver. Like I said, from afar it looks like a good problem, but nevertheless, you of the second guessing variety where like maybe I should have used that guy this night.
No, because
coaches can't be, right?
Well, you can't be, but a lot of it is, like I said, we don't take the decisions lightly. I try to use all the resources. I talk to the coaches. I talk to the goalie coach. You get a feel. You do your preparation, and then you make your decision and you go with it.
Who gets the net tonight?
Wallstead.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, my man.
All right, John, good luck. John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Kraken here tonight, 7 o'clock on KFAN. Then the team is at Dallas on Thursday, and there are 5 games to go. Dallas is hosting Calgary this evening. We are in deep stretch of the 2025-2026 NHL season, and your Minnesota Wild are playing quite well. It's 9:15 as part of the TimberTech What's on Deck set list from Box in the Box at Trier Rink. Brett Blake More produces and guides the Great Chip Love Covenant. Nordo's on site, and I'm Paul Allen. A couple of NFL draft-related segments back-to-back here, beginning around the corner. We have our Twofer Tuesday at about 9:35. Then Russo Radio joins at 10 o'clock. Welcome to your home for VOX in the Box Radio from St. Paul. This is 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. Yesterday, 9 to noon with the Monday mock, and another draft related tidbit that I crafted. I'm really glad that I didn't go with it yesterday, and here's the reason why. Because over the weekend, I'm like, you know what? Let's get ahead for the 9 to noon week, and I started just obsessing a little bit over the LA Rams having picked 13. And I'm like, how'd they get picked 13? And so then you look back at a trade the Falcons made with the Rams last year, and they reached up to get a Tennessee defensive end named James Pierce. Now, young James is embroiled in some off-field controversy right now, but when he was playing games last year, I think he had 10.5 sacks. So he was a menacing presence on the field at times last year. Okay, cool. So they trade up to do that, and the Rams end up with the Falcons pick this year, so it's pick 13. So then I'm like, all right, so what's going into this thing? Because this group drafts well, this group trades well, and this group has Matthew Stafford. So I'm thinking, are the Rams treating this like this is for sure Matthew Stafford's last year? Is this, he's the first overall pick in the 2009 draft. I think he just turned 38 years of age. And is this the Rams' last run? And are they sensing things with Stafford where they're like, you know what? Our backup quarterback is Stetson Bennett. And the Georgia kid is in his 4th year, and he hasn't played a snap. So I certainly don't have the inclination that they're sitting back waiting for Stetson Bennett to get his time, because this potentially is the last run for Matthew Stafford. And I'm really glad I looked into it more yesterday. Now with the LA Rams, the NFC should be on alert with them having the 13th overall pick in the draft, and jettison whatever opinions are being formulated by nationals about what kind of a draft it is and what, how deep it is with receiver, and it falls off here, and with defensive tackles, you don't want to start messing around with those until the mid-20s to the late 20s, and there are 4 offensive linemen, 3 tackles, and a guard who can change things right now. That's all the stuff that we hear, but we hear it from national reporters and national scribes who they're compensated to cover the NFL, and if you ascend to a certain level, you're not doing that all on your own notions. You're not doing that on the inclinations that you have via the discernment of your heart. You're doing it by sourcing, and you're talking to a lot of people, and you're in a roundabout way hoping you get the right answer to the test without oversharing, so you can still go back to that person. And with the Rams at 13, they don't care what the national narrative is on what certain positions are, how strong or how weak they are with the 2026 draft, because they traded with KC for all-pro corner Trent McDuffie. They gave fellow Chiefs corner Jalen Watson a big deal in free agency. So when those two things happen, I immediately was like, what are they doing here? I mean, those aren't just moves. Those are massive moves. And Trent McDuffie's considered one of the better corners in the entire National Football League. All right, well, why would Kansas City trade him? Then you look into that a little bit, and you come to grips with what is happening. But all along into yesterday, I was thinking to myself, do they know that, Stafford is going to play one more year and that's going to be it? So potentially with this 13, I've married myself to believing the Rams are going to trade out of the 13 spot, and they're going to try amass picks. And why wouldn't they? They've been quite good at the draft. But, then you think out, one of the best teams in the NFC, and that's the reason I'm spending time on them, is because they are a target at which to shoot for everybody, and that includes the champion Seahawks in the NFC. So you got that trade for McDuffie, and then they get Watson and give him mucho dinero in free agency. They still have these studs on rookie deals, and this is a key part of the equation. Defensive lineman Jared Verse, defensive tackle Braden Fisk, running back Blake Corum, wide receiver Puka Nacua, wide receiver Jordan Whittington. Now, you're like, okay, Jordan Whittington, we're happy for you. He's one of the game's very best special teamers, and the 3 facets. Well, just look at the champion Chickens. They recognized at the trade deadline it takes 3 facets to win, went and got Rashid Shaheed, and it made all the difference. So Jordan Whittington, he's on a rookie deal, but they love him. Tight end Terrence Ferguson. He only had 3 touchdowns on 11 grabs, but he played 14 games, and he played in both playoff games, and he helps them a lot on special teams. He's on a rookie deal. Edge Byron Young, he's still on a rookie deal. They have a guard named Steve Avila, and they like him a lot, and he's still on a rookie deal. He's a starter. Running back Kyron Williams, still on a rookie deal. Monster defensive tackle Kobe Turner, who's one of the better in the NFL. All those guys from Verse through Puka Nacua, through Terrence Ferguson, down to Kobe Turner, they're all on rookie deals. These guys can draft. That's why trading back and amassing picks makes sense to me for the Rams. But through all of this, I'm thinking to myself, did you get up to 13 so you can maneuver exactly to the spot Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson's going to fall? Because they'll, by draft day and the way things start to fall, they'll have a general idea of where they need to get what they want. So for Stafford, is this a Rams' last run for Matthew Stafford? Well, then I got into it a little bit with Stafford. And not only is what I'm saying now a stretch, Stafford's not close to being all done. And I unless he takes a bad hit somehow or something with his back, which perpetually has bugged him for about the last 5 to 7 years, unless that really, really takes a turn for the negative, he's just fine. I mean, and I guess I'd forgotten this. Matthew Stafford, he still plays most, if not all, the games. Again, his backup, Bennett Stetson, now they had Garoppolo, but he didn't play. Stetson, fourth year, hasn't played a snap. In 2023, Stafford missed one game, a meaningless final game of the season to get ready for the postseason. Carson Wentz started that game. In 2025, the only other player last year, the only other player on the Los Angeles Rams to throw a pass was kicker Joshua Carty. So Stafford last year, approaching age 38, threw for a league-high 46 touchdown passes, a league-high 4,707 passing yards. His yards per attempt at 7.9, number one in the NFL. And here's the key. They've crafted it in such a way that he only got sacked 23 times.
Yeah.
And he was only sacked 28 times the year before.
And that was into the season, by the way, when they were worried if he was even going to be able to start the
Right.
year because of back
Because
issues.
of the back bid,
but
right.
they nursed it the right way, and he made all the dances.
So Stafford is just fine, and in fact is truly aging like fine wine. He just turned 38, so by the time the Super Bowl hits next year, he'll be 39. So now the Rams at 13. And why am I obsessing over that? Because that's a plum spot, and they're good at what they do. And if you're a Vikings fan, a Bears fan, a Lions fan, a Seahawks fan, an Eagles fan, or whatever, and you're looking to ascend and start jumping teams, this is going to be a difficult one to jump again. Now, eventually, all these guys on rookie deals, eventually they're going to have to pay them, and they're not going to keep them all. So that they know that's coming too. But to be able to solidify not only the knowledge or the fact and not have it be hashtag faith that our quarterback's old, but our quarterback's still incredibly good. And when we don't have him, it's going to be time to reconfigure the situation. And coming into this yesterday, that's kind of where I thought Matthew Stafford was until I started deep diving what he's done and against whom he's doing it. So at 13, are they going to sit there because they're not at all worried about Stafford? And I think in the Monday mock yesterday, I put a wide receiver there. The more I think about it, it's kind of what I said about Cincinnati yesterday, where I Monday mocked the Utah offensive lineman Fano to them, and just flippantly off the cuff said, if you want to keep Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, you better protect him better than you have because my man's getting beaten up.
Yep.
That's the same thing with Stafford. It's not that he's getting beaten up, but they can win with Nakua and Whittington and the three tight ends and
Parkinson
Kobe Parkinson and Kyron Williams into Corum. I think they can do better than Corum, but this running back draft's relatively deep from rounds 2 to 5, from what I'm being told, outside of Jeremiah Love, who will go in the top 5. So the more I think about it, if they stay at 13, an offensive lineman is looking markedly more probable, if only to protect the Hall of Fame asset in Matthew Stafford. Now, there's this guard that I asked you about last week. I forgot his name. Last name's like Iovoni or
Ione.
Yeah, Ione, something like that. And, and at least from what I read and what I'm being told is he's leaps and bounds the best guard in the draft.
He's the only guard I've seen even regularly mocked in the first round.
Right. So you have offensive tackles that you can use at guard, and you have offensive tackles where fortifying your tackles is never a bad idea, specifically for the good teams with old quarterbacks. But, I think that Omar Cooper cat or whatever his name is a Monday mock to the Rams. And I think I'll alter that into next week because if they stay at 13, it's just looking to me more and more because of the way he's playing, the sacks, 23 sacks. This man threw for nearly 5,000 yards and only got sacked 23 times.
Yeah.
Well, that's a minor football miracle. I mean, that's ridiculous how over the course of 16, 17 games, they're able to pull that off. So I'm really glad that I put a little more time into this because 13 is a tricky spot. They're just so good at what they do with drafting. I originally was like, it feels to me like they'll trade out of it. If they do, I wouldn't be surprised. But if they take an offensive lineman to keep this fine wine aging the right way, well, then it's going to be defenses that are left punch drunk by Matthew Stafford because of the way he's playing.
It stinks in some ways that we're sitting here on a Twofer Tuesday fawning over how the Rams have put this thing together. But when you were talking, what's next for the Rams? And just looking in, could this be the last run for Matthew Stafford? As you dug into it, I was looking at it as well. And they've really set themselves up with immense financial flexibility in the coming years, to the degree of,
wow.
Okay, so I think this is the final year of Stafford's deal, and he's going to make like 40, 50 against the cap, whatever it is, high 40s.
Right.
And next year, they have $100 million in cap space.
Oh, Lord.
So they get McDuffie.
Wow.
They signed Jalen Watson in free agency. Next year, those are going to be two of their biggest money earners. You mentioned those fat cats specifically on defense that are still on rookie deals.
Oh, how about that? I mean, it's not like there are 2 or 3. There are like 7 who can help get them to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely,
that's good drafting right there.
And then now, they're trying to figure out in the midst, and hopefully things, again, get fixed, cleaned up, whatever it is off the field with Puka Nacua. They're going to have all the money they need to go a la carte with Matthew Stafford. Let's talk after the season, see how everything's going. Is the fine wine still good?
And I can't imagine at this stage of his career in life that Matthew, if he's still feeling good, that he's going to squeeze them for every single thing they have.
No, and so if you're getting year to year, let's say you're throwing 35 at them, something like that, 35 or 40, just keep this train moving, they're going to have the flexibility to do that. Now, with that said, stick and pick at 13, let's get an O-lineman. I was just thinking about this as I was putting Twofer Tuesday together. Depending upon how things fall, the idea of trading back can either be, people are going to be clamoring as Sadiq falls down the board. Let's use him as an example.
You don't want Kenyon Sadiq to land with McVay.
No, you do not. But as some of those chips start to fall, it either becomes more or less realistic that teams are going to become clamoring up, hey, we want to hit 13 for this guy, XYZ guy.
Yeah.
And so that will probably play itself out. And I think 13 is one of those weird spots based on, Downs and Styles got to be gone, maybe Sadiq. We've talked about Jordan Love. It's all full steam ahead to him being in the top 5, etc. But in terms of them bolstering, and it's not like I've watched all the film on their O-lineman, PA, but like Warren McClendon, he's a 5th rounder from a few years ago on the right side. How much do they really love Alaric Jackson?
Wow.
They really dig that Steve Avila cat at left guard.
Yep.
Coleman Shelton, I think, is the name of their center. So, any ability for them to bolster that and continue to support this aging HOF under center, it's a smart move. But again, fawning over how just going backwards, bleep them picks to now we're just going to ace them picks.
Yeah.
And the way they've set this thing up financially, McVay and the Rams are not going anywhere anytime soon at all.
So in closing here, I once again Monday mocked a wide receiver there in kind of lazy fashion.
Well, mocks are meant to be changed, though. This is kind of fun. This is like a living, breathing document.
Yeah.
We had to make a couple alterations yesterday, a little trim, a little nip and tuck here and there.
Correct.
And next Monday there will be more. That's okay.
Well, this also is a Dylan Thieneman spot. That's I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted him there. They drafted a high-end safety. Well, so then to close, just to land the plane on kind of like what people with ESPN who I know, and I know they put in the time, what they put in the time, but they're not, necessarily putting mock drafts out or doing videos to make sure that, a million people watch it on the YouTube shorts. They're doing it because they have steam and they want to be right. So Matt Miller with ESPN has mocked at 13 to the Rams, Spencer Fano, the offensive lineman from Utah. Field Yates has Monroe Freeling, an offensive tackle from Georgia, at 13 going to the Rams. Our guy Jordan Reed, ESPN, ESPN.com. Kenyon Sadiq. And his reasoning for them taking Sadiq was fantastic. And old school, best school, Mel Kiper has the Cane, Francis Mauigoa. the offensive lineman going to the Rams. So I see what's happening here. I still, if I had to make a wager on whether they would stay there or not, I would say no, and I think they would look to trade and amass picks. But if they do stay there and protect that HOF, who led the NFL in passing touchdowns, passing yards, and yards per attempt at age 37. Wow. He's now 38. He turned 38, I think, the day before the Super Bowl.
Picture bully ball with Puka, as physical as he is, put Sadiq in the mix, the way they use Parkinson. Oh, my goodness.
It's 9:37. This is a Vox in the Box show. We get back to hockey with forechecking and football being the bill of fare today at 10 o'clock with Michael Russo from The Athletic. But when we return, given it is a Tuesday, we have a twofer for you where we go through a couple of players or scenarios that are non-first round related that we believe would benefit the Minnesota Vikings. And that's next on KFAN.
The Outlaw Music Festival is coming August 19th. Willie Nelson, the Ava Brothers, Lucas Nelson, and more. Mystic Lake Amphitheater. Tickets are available now. Get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
9 to noon has been known to be drunk on the draft. So thus, we have a twofer for you on Tuesday, and here they are.
Yes, indeed. It is a twofer. Tuesday, 9 to noon. And the idea, the crux behind this is simply enough. We're sweating pick 18 at a high level, but the Minnesota Vikings will have 3 picks on Friday and then a total of 5 picks on Saturday. So what are we going to do? Putting on my soothsayer cap, last week I talked about Mr. Lance, Bryce Lance from NDSU, finding a skilled playmaking receiver potentially on Friday. But as a 2 for Tuesday goes, PA offered, I think it was a defensive tackle last week. Corleone. How fun it would be to go gangster in the interior, the D line with Mr. Corleone, Dante, his friends and family call him. But this week, I am looking at interior. But on the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to start just simply like this. How about a freaking center? Can we get a center? Not at pick 18, but sometime potentially Friday, maybe on Saturday. I would like the Vikings to address the center position. So we know where we're at here, whether it's Blake Brandel. You know, now that we're properly pronouncing his last name, it's important that we, tip our cap to him, of course, for his value as a reserve swing guy, but also acknowledge that I don't believe he's proven to be good enough to start full seasons in any particular position. Michael Juergens, maybe there's still hope for the future. I'm not placing my hopes in him for this particular season and years to come. And frankly, I didn't look into this before I wrote this up, but maybe Joe Huber snapped it a few times in Scottyville, but I can't confirm nor can I deny any of that. So 2 for Tuesday, the first is less about a name and more about a name, a bevy of names at the center position. And I'll start here. I really like Logan Jones from Iowa. Now, first, he's too old. I get it. He's turning 25 as a rookie, whatever.
Oh, geez.
But he plays with rage.
How'd that happen? Like the three school transfer bit?
Yeah, it's probably... Remember the COVID era when people were getting their 6th and 7th years?
And I was yelling at Cam Dantzler from Minneapolis when he was playing a game in Seattle in the night.
It's still one of my favorite...
I remember that.
It's still one of my favorite videos of all time, and I believe it was Grant Ridpath that put it together, but it was kind of just it was like a 9-second mini greatest hits from the COVID season 2020 of you, hands on the desk, hands on your head, elbows on the desk in pure
pants
dismay,
on the ground,
freaking out about Cam Dantzler, all of those things. Yes, so I don't know exactly why there was a late start and then inherently a late finish to his college career. But he plays mad. I read reports. They talk about his short arms. I mean, again, it's draft profile fodder. But he worked in a super run-heavy scheme at Iowa. And so this is a guy, and specifically in like a zone scheme, I think could fit potentially quite well with the Minnesota Vikings. Given the age, there's a factor here where he's potentially ready to start quickly.
How big is
I
he?
dig that. He is 6'3", 300, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So he is he's 3-ish inches taller maybe than a Bradbury was. Probably, I mean, if he plays at 300, he's probably playing 15 pounds heavier than Bradbury did when he was here. So that's a name. Another name, Jake Slaughter from Florida. He wears glasses, so scouts think he's pretty smart. Now, the key with Slaughter is team captain a couple years, started 3 years, a bunch of games over those 3 seasons. A little taller and longer than Jones, but he's super tall. I think he's like 6'5". I don't know if Kyler's going to be able to see over him in 2027. So that's
got to start thinking about how tall Will Fries and Donovan Jackson are. That's right.
That's a factor.
Will Fries is a tall one. I know that.
Now, there's somebody that you've mentioned. As a matter of fact, I think the last time I brought up Logan Jones, you brought up this guy, Sam Hecht from Kansas State, right?
K-State, I got steam.
And it's still kind of the same conversation. Super technically gifted, so he's kind of the tactician of this group,
right?
And I think what based on how I've read it and how in summation of these centers, the reason I didn't focus in on one particular, but I included those 3.
Yeah,
there might be a couple. There's some. I think it's Connor Liu. He might be recovering from significant injury. He might play into this conversation too.
Well, if he was in free agency last year, we would have given him $20 million.
Absolutely, we would have. All of that guaranteed. But to this end, if you read about each of these guys, you're going to find something that you really love about each of them, and then you're going to say, "Yeah, but." And then you're going to find the other end of it again. They make Logan Jones sound like T-Rex from the Jurassic Park movies with his short arms, and Slaughter does this well, doesn't do this well. You know what I mean?
So, with your research for this, would you gather that it's not considered a good year to draft a center who can start now?
Yes, that's what I'm gathering.
Right, because the way you're laying this out, and I'm glad you did it that way, is okay. Whether it's Brandel or Juergens, and let's make Brandel an 80% favorite to be the starting center for the Vikings next year in the current state.
With you.
Well, I mean, Blake. There. If you want to dissect Blake's game, you can find this good. Need to work on this. This is good. These 2 things need improvement. So call them warts, call them negatives, or whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
It sounds like, I mean, why would somebody invest on day 1 or day 2 of the NFL draft for those who have these proverbial warts, when you have somebody in the covenant who at least knows how to play the position, knows what plays are coming, and you got somebody. In other words, it doesn't sound like a great year to get a blue chip center to have him roll in and be Dwight Stevenson up in this mug.
Yeah, there may not be a blue chip center in this draft, but in the case of looking long term, since they drafted Bradbury, and then they bring in, of course, Ryan Kelly last year via free agency. We appreciate Bradbury's consistency and maybe above many things, his availability over the course of time here to the point where we did not address that position.
Right.
And maybe we missed out on potential blue chip centers along the way because of Bradbury's consistency and his availability. But as it is now, if you say we're rolling into 2026 with Blake Brandel and Michael Juergens, I'm going to say okay. And again, I appreciate the versatility of a Blake Brandel, but I don't know if I can roll 17 games this year, 17 games next year,
right?
And I don't know what the future holds of the 2027 crop. What I do know is that
this is eye-opening the way you're laying this out.
Juergens and Brandel in the now as our only options at that particular spot. All jokes about Joe Huber aside, he did his thing and did his best. But the idea that you can get a guy on day 2 that can be a competitor this season, with Blake Brandel still being prohibitively favored to take that spot in the short term.
Right.
But so he's not a blue chipper at this moment, a Hecht or a Slaughter or a Jones.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that you have in your covenant over 2026.
I like it.
That can potentially be that guy moving forward into 2027. I would, if they take some center, one of those names late Friday night, I'll actually be happy about that.
Well, what I would wonder, and it has tentacles, and I haven't really thought about it until right now. With the absolute assumption that Kyler Murray is the starting quarterback for the Vikings, are face changes required? when it comes to the way you consider your offensive linemen and how your offensive linemen play. And you joked about it, and it's been a joke by many people for quite some time about Kyler being 5'10", not able to see over offensive linemen. That's why yesterday with Bursich, I went down the road. I put some time over the weekend into Drew Brees, and at 5'11", 6 feet max. When you watch Drew go on a 7-step drop, and I remember this vividly now that I think about it, he didn't just bounce back there like all quarterbacks do and turn his back on a defense via play action. He would run back. Yeah. Drew Brees from under center ran back 7 steps. Why? So he could get there before the penetration took place so he can see over his offensive lineman. Now, the difference here is that Brees is not going to break he's going to stay in the pocket more than he's not. Murray's going to get out of the pocket more than he's going to stay in it. So I just wonder if all those names you mentioned, or then the next layer is, will Kyler be the quarterback in 2027? And if you're drafting somebody who you think complements what he does, are you sure he's going to be around the next year? This is perplexing. It is indeed. So one of those centers, if they're available on Friday night, and yeah, man, now that I'm thinking about it, it's, well, how many does a guy like Kyler mask mistakes? Does he mask ills on the offensive line simply because of his athleticism and breaking the pocket? Right. And so can you live with a Brandel in 2026 because you also have to live with a QB who doesn't spend a lot of time behind him? That's a really good question, and without putting any time into asking anybody that question, because it's an important question, my answer is going to be no. And the reason is the previous segment, we just talked about a 37, 38-year-old quarterback finding a way to get sacked only 23 times while leading the NFL in passing yards. That's covering up your offensive line. That's recognizing, we have Alaric over here, we got Shelton over here, and we got this guy on the right side nobody's ever heard of, but that's okay. Right. Because Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback I've ever seen in my life at masking offensive line deficiencies, because he moved well enough to get away from it. But they have Stafford. I can't believe they're putting Stafford on a lot of 7-step drops with only 23 sacks. So I think the answer would be no, but I think it's a good question. My last bit for you here as part of a Twofer Tuesday. So the centers. Let's get a center at some point in this draft. Now, the Vikings, tight end, this is a quality tight end draft, would you agree? Yes, sir. Okay, well, maybe we don't find our way to Sadiq. Maybe we don't find our way, Sturts, there's a Roush, there's a... You got Stowers, ones that I like, Stowers, Roush, and Trigg. Yeah. Trigg from Baylor, I like, and Sadiq. I like those 4. Well, just in case that doesn't happen, we got Baby Carrot guy, we got Urasek, we got Bartholomew. Hopefully, was that a back thing? We didn't see much of him around the facility last year, at least in a uniform practicing. And then Mr. Nesbitt. We need somebody that's going to develop and potentially be a guy in 2027. And we might as well use a day 3 pick on a tight end if we aren't able to procure one the first 2 days. So I was looking at this project out of Notre Dame. His name's Eli Raridan. And almost no production until his senior year. He's like 6'6". His dad was an O-lineman in Notre Dame. His grandpa was a strength coach for Lou Holtz at Notre Dame. So this Golden Domer DNA, and if Hitman leaves, why not just have somebody from Notre Dame in the Covenant here? Well, he tore his ACL before his first season, and then again at the end of his freshman season, right knee both times. That's an ouch. So Eli Raridan, I kind of love this guy's athleticism, but I don't know. So enter, and hopefully Brett's back at the station ready to hit a highlight for me. I'm going with this guy.
Now, here's Mendoza. Mendoza firing his strike. He's got his man. Big tight end running free. Jack Endries. He's into the end zone. 57 yards.
Thank you for that highlight, Brett. Jack Endries. Now, most recently, people would have seen him at Texas. He was a Longhorn hanging out with Arch Manning and company. Really? But he was a walk-on at Cal and a freshman All-American and a favorite target for Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback you heard in that highlight.
Right.
All conference quality his final season at Cal before he transferred to Texas, as I mentioned, now with the Longhorns. Makes all the games, boxes out like a rebounder, stresses man defense when he can get out and run. Run blocking's a little work in progress.
Is it?
But
he's an inline. I think he's described as an inline tight end where he does his best work, like attached to an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen him comp to like the Dalton Schultzes of the world.
Really?
So that kind of guy.
Yep.
But
I'd never heard of him until you gave me the name yesterday. So I looked at some highlights of some NFL players that kind of reminded me of him. And the first one I saw, and I stopped looking after that, was Cade Stover.
Cade Stover. Okay, I thought you were going to hit me with like a Red Ellis. Like, just totally ruined my vibes on it.
Brett was fast.
But he was a walk-on at Cal. He found his way to Texas, stayed healthy, reliable target. He's 6'5", 245.
What round do you think?
Well, that's definitely late 4th, 5th round.
Oh, geez, so we're like Saturday with this Twofer.
No, this is a Saturday pick.
Oh, that's sweet.
This is a Saturday. This is in the weeds.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Saturday of the NFL draft, the most compelling day of the year.
If you get an NFL comp of Dalton Schultz or Cade Stover on Saturday, you've won.
Yeah, absolutely. So if he was potentially available on Saturday for the Vikings and they had not found their way to a tight end on Thursday or Friday, Jack Endries, Texas tight end, just kind of put that name in your pocket on a 2 for Tuesday, a center, a tight end. What else can these Vikings do for you with their 9 picks in the draft?
Well, I had never heard of him until yesterday, and it just continues to fortify the belief that was generated into the combine, during the combine, and via 9 to noon for the last month and change, just how deep this draft is for tight ends. I mean, if this guy is 1 or 1A from a passing standpoint for the national champions and a quarterback who's going to be drafted first, then he can play.
Yeah.
He's played in high leverage games, and I think he's a 4-6 guy, 4-5 maybe, which is not bad.
4-6, yeah.
For a Saturday tight end. But I like that. That just further personifies how deep this is for tight ends, and I'd like to lead with at least one of them. If I'm as a Minnesota Vikings fan and knowing the breadth and the depth of these tight ends, and I'm talking 15 of them, and Endries would be part of it. I just hope we leave with one who can not only help, but potentially help now. It's 10 o'clock. Michael Russo and Russo Radio a few minutes from now. Box in the Box from St. Paul, cracking in town tonight. 7 o'clock on KFAN. Back after this.